answering the question, what is an interrupt in a computer and how can I give an example? Okay, so when you're looking at this kind of question, this is going to be relating to GCSE, computer science, or potentially even A-level. And an interrupt in a computer is when you are processing an instruction and something happens which is of a higher priority. Now I'm going to pull that apart just a little bit. So I'm going to take this outside of our context. Imagine that your teacher is here and they have a very important presentation which they are talking about. So here we go. There is your teacher, and this is you, and you are sat here learning. There's your desk. And what happens all of a sudden, as these instructions are being processed, so you are being given information, you're being given data, all of a sudden the head teacher comes through the door and they have a really important piece of information. This piece of paper here must be given to the teacher. That is an interrupt, because what happens is everything you were doing suddenly stops, gets put to one side. The interrupt is serviced, which means that the teacher speaks to your head teacher, takes the piece of paper that's really important, and once that is then dealt with, then they can go back to doing what they were doing before. Now, in terms of computing, what that might look like is that you might be doing the standard fetch, decode, and execute cycles. So you've got an instruction is fetched, it's being decoded, it's executed, and then it starts again. So what happens with the instructions that are currently being decoded, executed, is that they go into this special pile over here called stack. So they get put over here. All of the instructions and data are put there. The interrupt gets serviced, and that means that they can then be taken off the top of the stack because that's the easiest place to get them from. So let's have a think about some possible examples. Now, using somebody coming through a door to interrupt, that's a really good real world example. But when we are talking about something that is happening inside the computer, anything which is input or output is probably of a higher priority than anything that's happening right now. That could be keyboard input. So what I am doing right now, I am using my pen to write on the board. That is a keyboard input. It's taking what I'm doing and it's putting it onto the screen. So your keyboard input, it might be something from a peripheral. A peripheral, any kind of device that sits around the external part of the computer. A peripheral device such as a printer. So it might be that the printer is out of paper. Printer's out of paper, it will send an interrupt to the computer and a little thing will pop up whilst you're doing other things. So that pop-up became an interrupt to tell you that it was out of paper. It might be out of ink. It might be that your printer buffer is full, so it's telling the computer to stop sending data because it can't handle any more. Or it could be that it's sending a thing to say it's empty, so now it's ready to handle the next thing. So things like printers are really, really good examples for identifying interrupts. So anything which is input or output, consider the user is the most important part of the computer system. So therefore anything to do with the user, that's the one you really want to look for.